Chapter 4. The scent of Akeda is in his fingers, in his nose, on his member, a scent that follows him into the car, a ghost on his shoulder of memories of the lady in his bed. Kota sugar. He thinks about Akeda and her ability to persuade him. The feeling of discomfort feeds him, in the thought of the choice of Akeda. Kota corrects in the rearview mirror. He feels the body has fallen a few centimeters. A wrinkle on the forehead. He notices his body. He is aged, starting to look worn. It's a young age to grow old in. Kota thinks. The beard stands straight. Thin full beard that stands at 4 millimeters in length. A few lights dazzle Kota. Straighten up. The maneuver swings the car across the road. Out of control, Kota pushes the vehicle back onto the road. The heart is pounding in the chest. The car revs up violently, like a wild horse neighing. Kota moves his foot off the accelerator. The car slows to a stop. The hands are still clamped on the steering wheel. A mental crow peels the hands from the leather. Kota looks at himself in the rearview mirror. The piercing eyes are large. The forehead falls straight. The horn causes fright. Whispers Kota. Thoughts spin around. The eerie feeling is evaporating. The fear weighs on. Kota shakes his head. Start the car again. Proceeding towards the station, he sees the long street lamps creating a dome of light over the car. Small suns that explode as he passes them. Kota parks the car. A minute passes before he takes the harness off his body. The coat hangs down to the knees. Kota stands by the thick street lamp that illuminates the parking lot. All the patrol vehicles hold. Kota glimpses the area. Carriages 12 and 21 are out of service. A cat runs across the street. Looking over shoulder, the cat's eyes hit Kota. It runs away quickly, looking once again at Kota. Kota. He wonders. Feel the cool night wind on your forehead. He pulls the hat down further so that only the nose is visible. He pushes his fingers under the collar. It stands up like a sailing flag. A door opens. Kota puts his foot on the lamppost. A sour scent of perfume. 2 male officers leave. Locks the doors. Kota overhears their conversation, looking over at the long black cars. They hug goodbye, climb into each of their coupes. Humming noise. They leave with dramatized twists and turns. Kota forcefully blows air out of his nose. Minutes pass. Kota falls down. He closes his eyes, waiting for the world to stop. Twinkling stars appear in Kota's mind. The moon takes shape. A dancer. She spins around on the star carpet. Advances a smooth hand towards Kota. He does not accept. Rejects the offer. Sitting on the lonely bench in the park. Left with a sad choice to be alone. Kota enjoys the sight of the lady. She spins around faster. Swings the leg out like a ballet dancer. She taps her shoes together. Jobin-san, is it you? The voice forms into a hand. River Kota out of her daydream. Kota snaps his head up over his eyebrow. A figure stands in the doorway. The street lamp obscures Kota's view. He looks over to the door. A recognizable voice from a recognizable body. Amane-san. Kota replies back. The man makes large arm movements, as if he were lifting a boat ashore. Come on. I said we were busy. Hurry up, Amane. His sound is unchanged, still dark, a faint tremor after years of smoking. Kota approaches the door, shakes his body in motion. The tired eyes get used to the white light in the hallway. Amane closes the door carefully. What are the rules tonight? I have the cheeky contract with, it's so popular with adults today. Tells Kota. Amane looks at the man. Slightly despised, he tries to absorb the information. Slowly, the man picks up on the haunting sound. He shakes his head. No pranks today. Those are also long days for me. Kota. Kota stores the information in his thoughts. The cognitive functions work. Is that why? Our comment? I thought you were supposed to be the funnier of the two of us? A lot has happened in 2 years, 2 months and 27 days. Maybe you've grown up for once? The beard suits you. I rarely say that to people. Tells Amane. The man's body is brought to high pressure. The heart is pounding. Kota notes it in his timbre. Careless. Shaken right. Kota automatically becomes a contradiction. Thanks. It was the friend who recommended that I grew my beard fully. After that I kept it. That sort of thing happens. What do you have to say that is so important? It's not because I'm busy, because I've agreed with all the criminals that for the next 48 hours, that is, over the weekend, they won't commit murder or do so much as break into a candy store. You should stop counting chickens. Come with me. Amane raises a finger, dragging Kota into the web of tension. He opens the door to an office. Tucked away from the rest of the building. Kota notices the thick steel doors. Narrow glass windows, thick enough to withstand a bullet from a tank. 2 chairs are placed around a thin steel table. Amane knocks on the table. Kota spits. His senses are heightened, working to understand the shock. Kota. His pupils dilate. Amane notices the reaction. Interesting, says the man, concluding, staring deep into Kota's soul. Have you now become a psychologist? No, but I have become particularly aware of your situation. I have read your papers and received statements from your psychologist. You're making progress, but she probably doesn't see everything the way I do. I have some unconventional methods in my work with people. I'm more of a behaviorist. I thought your papers were confidential? Kota asks. He squeezes his eyes shut. Try to avoid eye contact. Step back a meter. Amane smacks, straightens the inserted teeth, running his hand through his graying hair. Nothing is confidential when you request it as an organization. After all, we need to know how our employees are feeling. Are you interested in knowing why I hate psychodynamics? Amane asks. No, I'm fine complaining without that information. Last time I was aware, you had to have consent to collect information of a personal nature. Unless you paid for it, but that just tells you that my psychologist wasn't that expensive after all. Says Kota. A hand slides across the table. The steel feels cold. The heat has been turned on recently. Concludes Kota in his thoughts. He looks over at Amane, who is standing behind the shiny chair. Here comes a teaching. Whenever there is a general rule, there is always an exception. I'm an old fox in the field, so I've dug a lot of holes over the years. I can easily dig my way under the little bureaucratic fences. You can rest easy. I have not utilized your information more than a concern. I would like to know if you are able to handle multiple tasks. I see you have raised your character since then. If you are referring to the fact that I have spoken to the crisis psychologist about my desire to cultivate my body, then yes. I have learned a little bit about fighting and other little things that can be used out in the field. Yes, you're probably right. What I see is a man who trains like a soldier in his spare time. There are not many people who train as much, as violently and in the quantities that you do. It's not just combat. I can read. Please sit down, says Amane. Says Kota, sits down on the cool seat, puts the hat on the table, interlacing fingers. With an icy gaze, Kota looks into Amane's eyes. The man averts his gaze. He knows the words are true. Smiling under the hand. You were busy. Let's start with the agenda. You have not come to talk about everything and nothing. Especially not my personal information. So go ahead with it. What do you want me to do now? I can't promise anything, because I plan to leave soon. Permanent, tells Kota. The sound is cooled. Raw sound from the vocal cords. Kota looks down at his hat. He awaits Amane's response. The older man thinks. The wrinkles ripple like the water towards the beach. Kota's gaze lands on Amane. The lips are moving. I have a special task for you. This time it only takes one man. Fantastic. I was worried about having to dig up all the people from their graves. That would be a nice start to the mission. It's lucky you don't pay for piecework, because then you would have been ruined by now. As I recall, your efforts cost us 260,000 yen a day. Combined with the salaries of the others, which were now never to be paid, we on ICE's side have decided to let the salary rise, proportionally. And that was supposed to do it for me? I almost didn't make it home alive. It's just luck that Psychopath took a biased pleasure in me. Otherwise I would never have survived. The next thing is, Konakatsu's bodyguards will probably shoot me if they saw me on the street. Do you think money is worth that fear? It's only cash that means nothing in the hands of a cold corpse. Nothing heats up, only what you leave behind. So you can offer me 1 million yen, I'm not interested. Says Kota. He looks at Amane angrily. Why so negative out of nowhere? Realize it, Jobin-san. You have no one to leave anything to, so therefore you only have yourself and the life you give yourself. I know what you want to say. I can read you like an open book. It's because you've read me like an open book. Snarling Kota. I interpret it as a funny remark. I know you're thinking, the man himself has none. And I don't have that. No wife. No children. My parents are long dead. I have nothing to live for but myself. I'm a slave to this work, but it's also what gets me out of bed. I can tell you, I have been in your situation myself. Because finally, don't think ICE is a new principle. We have been operating for over 50 years. I thought Sozin started the company? Kota asks. That's something we tell the new ones. I started the company myself. But back to the negotiations. I have plenty of cash. Also on me. Amane opens a bag on the floor. Black leather, not larger than 30 centimeters in width. Thick. He puts it on the table. A card falls out, across the table like a puck on a hockey table. It was anticlimactic. What did you imagine? That I run around with physical banknotes? We are in the 21st century. Kota. He takes the card in his hand. A thin metal credit card. Ice. Reading Kota. He purses his lips, turns it around in the light. So what's the point of the card? I think you can figure that out, but let me finally explain it to you. I love explaining this part. It is a special credit card. Made of titanium, only one of them in the world. And what do you think it is set to? A special account without a holder. All it requires is just the code in any machine, and it does the rest. The code is 5,000. After that the code is 6,000 and so on. It was special. Is it bait? Last I remember you wanted to blackmail me. Negotiate, I would call it. And we still use those methods. Still uninterested in hearing the task, because I'd like to take the card back. Answers Kota. His gaze lowers. Well, as I said, it was a one-man job. You have to drive a VIP from point A to point B. Amane pauses. He closes his mouth. Kota looks expectantly at the man. Was that all? Not anymore? Sounds like you could get a well-trained chimpanzee to do that job. Find someone else. Kota tosses the card back to Amane. Easy from the chair. I am not for sale anymore, or for negotiation, as you call it. I'm traveling with my girlfriend next week. There is nothing you can do to stop it. What about your work? Have you reported it to them? No. I will. I'll do that tomorrow with a guest visit to the chief of police's office. Answers Kota. Perhaps I will be present tomorrow. Maybe I can help negotiate. I can advocate for you. I know my way around people. I am good at negotiating. Tells Amane. He talks to himself. Puts a hand on the chin. We do. I'll see you tomorrow. I have a hunch that you're thinking of something that won't go my way. And I'm afraid it's more coercion than negotiation. Motivation is also a good word. But before you go, the salary has been raised to 800,000 yen per day. Tax-free. You will know the girl's name tomorrow. You know I hate those pronoun games. I know. I'll see you tomorrow. You will find out for yourself. Laughs Amane. He sees the man leave the room. Kota strode out to his car. Turns on the heat.